Hello everyone, the battery designer has been massively overhauled. This is going to be a rather rough video. I will eventually make much better videos, but this is just going to be a quick coverage of the major changes. The first thing I want to cover is the new user interface options. You click Settings, UI, and then Use Side Panels. And that brings you to this interface that some people have been asking about. This was actually I had a similar interface to this when I first made this program before I switched to that top menu. So you have everything in an accordion style menu on the left, and then you have dedicated generation buttons over here on the right that never go away. I can see how some people really like this, so I wanted to make it an option. I still haven't made all the custom icons, just the 3, but I promise I will do the rest of them soon. But let's go back to UI and then show top or use top menu, because that's what I want to use for now. Okay, so let's take a look at the battery analyzer. First, I want to cover this quick feature. This has actually been around for a while, but most people don't know it exists, so I want to talk about it. If you have at least 2 cell groups and they're in a clear, easily repeatable pattern, you can press C and then put the number of cell groups you want, and it will automatically continue the battery to that. So let's open the battery analyzer. Here we have it. This will project all the performance characteristics for your battery that you're building. As far as the resistance and the current and all of that, it gets that from parameters battery. You can manually punch these numbers in, or you can use the cell library. There's a full cell library now. This feature works perfectly, but the data, like the resistance and other characteristics for each one of these batteries, might not be exactly perfect yet. I'm going to go through each one of these and do a lot of research and testing and stuff to make all of these templates rock solid, but for right now, just consider it an estimate. So let's make this a 3P battery, and you can see it updates in real time. There we go. And we've got the load current set to 50 amps. And let's do JP40 cells. You can see with the JP40 cells, there's no red on the chart. But if we switch to something weaker, like an LG MH1, you can see that we've got some problems. Anytime it's red, that's when it's not recommended. That's when it's generating too much heat within the cell. Even though this runs in real time, you might not want to destroy your battery, to do some testing. So what you can do is use these overrides here. Check it out. We can increase the number of cells in parallel, and you can see with 5P, this is a good build. We can do it. You can also go in the other direction as well. So let's do another example showing the estimations. We'll do a real simple one. And then let's do 150 amps. Now this slider only goes to 100, but you can type in anything. Just press enter. But because I have changed this here, it's not going to apply that. It just changes the limits. So now we can crank it up. And look at that. We're having some serious problems. With LG MH1 and 5P, you definitely cannot do 150 amps. And the charts will show that. And you can take the current down to something you can do. There you go. But let's turn it back up. And let's see if we can add more in parallel. Nope. Can't even add more in parallel to make it work, because LG MH1 is just not that powerful. You'd have to add more in the build, because the baseline override, it only goes so many in either direction. But check it out. Look at the voltage sag and all the other characteristics. They all change in real time. There is a full suite of keyboard shortcuts now. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. On the keyboard, we'll open those menus. And you can get the list right here if you go to the root. And then we click keyboard shortcuts. It explains everything right there, so you don't have to remember them or anything. The next feature I'm going to mention is another one that's been around for a while, but most people either don't know it exists or don't know how to use it. So I just want to go over it, and that is the bus bar editor. Let's go to Tools, Bus Bar Editor, and you can see when we get close to a bus bar, it will show a preview of where you can make an addition to that. While it's red, while it's active and you're hovering over it, you can press W or S to go in or out. And then when you have it how you like it, you can press space to add it. See? I will make this a lot better so it can snap to the middle and all that. Also, people have been asking about a flattened end, so you can do the main connections instead of just the, a nice wide flat one, instead of just the tabs for the BMS sense wires, and I'm going to add that very soon. And if you just press escape while you're in this mode, it clears all those, and that's what I just did. There is a new Control F search option. So let's say you want to change the grid type from offset to linear and you don't know where that is. You can do Control F and then type grid type. And it shows up right there. But I just noticed when I pressed F for Control F that it flipped the cell or the battery. Because see, look, if you press F, sorry about that. If you press F, it will flip the battery. But it should not do that when I press Control F. So I'm going to fix that bug real quick. One moment. You can see we're on build 3.9.4.88. Just give me a moment. Okay, we're back. Let's see if it works. Okay, that's normal. Okay, and let's do Control F. Okay, great. Fixed a bug right in the middle of the video. Can you believe that? I told you it was going to be rough. Okay, so let's go over this search feature a couple more times. We can do Control F and just type anything. You see, I'm searching for case. Case is not in the top menu, but it's in the generate menu. So it's telling us it's there. And then let's search for it again. And there we have it. I just turned this on. Several people are using it right now. But it's still working pretty quick. That's great. I updated the move tool so it actually works. And let's search for it. Control F. It's in tools, so let's click that. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Here, let's put it back how we were. There we go. And let's do Control F and then search for move. It tells us it's in tools. We can press enter or click it, and then we can search for it again. I should probably have it automatically search again once you go into, the top menu that it's in. And there we have it. You can also press M to get to the move tool or P to get to the paint tool. So see, I'm painting right now, and then I can press M, and now I'm in the move tool. And this is what the move tool does. You can actually move the battery. On a request of one of the members, I added polarity under visibility. You can click polarity, and you can choose either polarity or cell numbers. You can't have both on at the same time for obvious reasons. But there we go. And if we press F to flip, you can see it works as you'd expect. See, we have the negative alone on this side, and then we flip it. See? This ends up on the other side, and it's exactly as you'd expect. Just like a battery in the real world. Okay, so let's get rid of this battery. And we'll make a real quick, simple 4S battery. There we go. Now I want to go over the new frame types. I'll just go through all the frames. Parameters, frame. Okay, so we have the rounded frame, which does this. In fact, I will just use blank cells for this. Okay, so we have the, by the way, I did that by holding Control. Control temporarily switches the cell number to 0, which is that gray. You could also just go down to it by using A on the keyboard, because A and D do this. So you can just go all the way down. But it's just convenient to hold Control to temporarily go down to this. Anyways, this is what the rounded frame type does. Let's go to my favorite frame type, which is contour. Oops. There we go. Right click to remove cells as usual. And you can just kind of see what this frame type does. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is square. Pretty obvious what this is. That's how this one works. And let's go to compact square. It does this. Basically puts a square around each one and connects them together. Then we have smooth compact, which is the same thing, but just with chalk and smooth edge. And then octagon. This is a new frame type. I think this is fun. You can pretty much just see how this works. It forms, you know, the tightest possible octagon that also respects the frame margin there. Okay, let's do the next one. Diamond. Not too exciting. It's just a square frame rotated. And then we have capsule. I really like this one. It's not done. I need to do some work on it, and I will show you why. Now, if I fill this cell in, it should not increase the capsule size. Oh, well, it doesn't. See, there we go. It should not increase the capsule size, but it does. It does. So I want to fix that so it's the tightest possible capsule. I'll show you what I mean a little better. Okay, so let's say we have this battery, and we just want to add some cells in here. See, it makes the capsule bigger. I don't like that. I'm going to fix that. Let's see if it does that in the other direction. Yeah, see, we're going to have that same problem in this direction. When I add, it should not increase it unless it gets too close to the wall. So I will fix that, but I really like the concept of a capsule frame. I think it looks neat. Okay, let's go to the next one. Squircle. Pretty much a hybrid between a square and a circle. It's basically just a square with rounded corners, or, you know, smoothed corners. And then your traditional cell holders. A lot of people really like this one. And then a circle frame for, you know, radial batteries. This one actually does work as you'd expect. It only makes it larger when it actually does have to be larger. And that's it for the frame types. Let's do a generation for each one. Here, we'll go... Oops, that's the parameters for the frame. There we go. I meant to change the frame type, not do another generation. So let's add a quick launch button. This has been here for a while, but I'll just explain this again. You press the plus to add more slots, and then you can drag icons. You have to drag from the icon itself, not from the box, not from the text. Okay, so let's do frame like that. Of course, we don't want that one, though. You right-click to remove it. There we go. Frame type. There we go. Okay. Now let's go back to our generate button. Okay. So now we can change the frame type very easily right here. Okay, we'll do the rounded frame. There we go. And now we will do contour. There we have it. By the way, veterans of this program will notice that the status LEDs are gone. There used to be 6 LEDs at the bottom because this was a house of cards. I mean, really, it required so many different programs to run in perfect concert and be able to communicate between each other. to generate anything. Well, now that's not the case. It's all consolidated now on the server, and it's just one generator that does it all. So there's no need to have that anymore. I didn't mean to click generate again. Okay, let's do the next one. We got the square frame. Like I said, this video is rough. I will make a better one. Several better ones. There's our square frame. There we have that one. The 3D viewer is much better than it used to be. The camera actually works the way you'd expect it to, instead of having that weird orbital problem. Also, there's no stuttering. See, it's very smooth. The other one stuttered when you moved it. Okay, let's do the next one. I think the octagon batteries are going to be fun. I'm looking forward to making some of those. You can also check this box here to see both of them together. We'll leave that on for now. The capsule frame. I'm going to make the capsule frame type perfect, and I'm going to make lots of capsule pill batteries. Traditional cell holders. Everyone's familiar with these. Pretty much standard. I keep clicking the wrong one. There we go. And circle. There we have it. So that covers the frame types and the new 3D viewer. Here's a small thing, but I think it's important. It's related to the visibility. So let's say we're making a battery. Okay, and also, let me change the frame type to back to my favorite one, contour. There we go. So if we click visibility, I used to have it so you could turn both of these on at the same time, and it was very confusing. But now, check it out. It makes sense now. You can only have one or the other on at any given moment. Another feature that's brand new are the frame holes. They only work, for now, they only work with the linear grid type. So let's do Control F. Oops, I'm not on that page. There we go. Let's do Control F and search for grid type. Oops, I did it wrong. Here, let's go back. There we go. Grid type. In parameters, okay, and then let's search for it again. Grid type. Oops. I'm screwing up. Cell grid. There we go. It's right there. Okay, so now let's make a linear battery. I'm terrible at this, the video thing, by the way. Okay, and then we can go to parameters, frame, And now we have these frame holes. We can turn the frame holes on, and we have parameters for them. So let's just do a generate. I'm going to put this down here. There we go. Now I can go back to my parameters and frame. There we go. And then generate. It does what you'd expect. So you can put, you know, the BMS wires through there cleanly. That's what that's for. It also just looks cool. And we also have perimeter grooves on the outside. And I just noticed a fresh bug there. One moment. Okay, let's try that again. We've incremented the version 2 numbers in the middle of this video. It's brand new. Okay, no more bug. Great. Okay, now where was I? Okay, let's generate this frame. There we go. And now let's put these grooves in it and generate this one. There we have it. And they don't have to be used together. You can just use the grooves without using the frame holes. There we go. And let's turn these back on. Okay, and you can choose the shape. Check it out. I'll go through all of them. We have semi-square. And look, you can change the size. That's a bug. We don't want this. So I've got to set it so it can never breach the cell. But let's just do that. You can see how this would be useful. Plus it looks neat. And then we have the triangle. I like this one. And we can change the size of that. Just make it little notches just to kind of give it a flare. Let's just see what that looks like. I think it looks nice. So you can make it just big enough to run a wire through. You know, a sense wire or something like that. And we can do hexagons. Let's make it a little bigger. Pretty cool, huh? And the last one, octagon. Just to give you guys some, you know, some options. Maybe it's just decoration. Maybe it can be useful, but I just think it's cool. And it wasn't difficult to add, so why not? There's probably plenty more that I should discuss. And like I said, I'm going to make a lot more videos. Some better, more thought out videos that are properly produced and not just made in a rush. But I just wanted to show you this one last thing, and it's really the star of the show. It's the file manager. Now everything that you generate has a history. You can instantly load the project and be right back to where you were. So if you make a frame, you print it, and you build a battery, and you want to make a case for that frame, now it's not a nightmare. Before, it was a major hassle. Let's say you print a frame, okay, and then you play with the designer, you make another battery, you know, you change the settings, right? And then you go back to that original frame and you want to print a case. Well, you can waste an entire spool of filament trying to find those settings again that you used to be able to print a case. I've run into that problem, and several members have run into that problem. That is no longer a problem because now you can load up the project. Check it out, and if you notice, we have another bug here. And sure enough, the console is full of errors, but it's okay. I had a pretty good idea of what that was because I just made some changes related to that, and I've already fixed it. So let's pull in this file. Oops. If you double click it, it opens up the files themselves. But if you click load project, it will actually load the project. See, there we go. The third bug fixed in the middle of recording the damn video. Anyways, let's get back to the file manager. So everything that you generate will show up here. You can delete it by right-clicking and deleting the project. And if you click it, instead of clicking load project, you can see all of the raw files associated with it, including the thumbnail. You can download these things or load them. There is an SVG viewer as well. Here, let's load another one. Let's get one of these. There we go. And we'll load the BD3 file. And then we'll load the STL. And we can load the SVG as well. Another bug. I gotta fix this. So the outside of the perimeter groove is showing up in the SVG. That's not good, because if you cut it with a laser or do something else with the SVG, you're not gonna want that in there. So I will fix that one after the video. Well, that's about it. I mean, there's a lot more stuff to cover. And guys, look, I promise, I'm going to make a proper tutorial video that covers everything, okay, really smoothly and really calmly without any problems. And I'll also make explainer videos, you know, a short, 30 seconds to 1 minute explainer video for each one of these things. And it'll be in a little question mark in the corner. So you can click each one and it'll explain exactly what each one does. Anyways, thanks for bearing through this video. I told you it was going to be rough. Thanks for watching.